Hey, and welcome back to Game Talk. I'm your host, Ahmed. Today I'm joined by Connor
Hey guys.
and Mike.
Hello.
And just a couple days ago, Connor and I returned from our travels. We were in Italy for 10 days, right, Connor?
10 days, the land of Super Mario himself.
Indeed. And Ezio Auditore, the two things Italy's known for.
Yes,
But
only two.
it was an incredible vacation. We saw lots of really unique places, did lots of fun things, and now I think we just sort of want to reflect on it a little bit, and how can we do that through video games? Well, we can talk about places, real-life places that have been actualized in video games, and right off the top of my head, I can think of several examples. Assassin's Creed sort of built its whole franchise on that concept, but there are other examples too. And maybe we can just start off with one of the actual locations we visited, the small Italian town of Vernazza, which was the inspiration behind the Hitman World of Assassins Sapienza level, which is one of its most popular levels. And it was a real treat seeing Vernazza after playing Hitman.
It was really... uncanny's not the word, because I feel like uncanny is like kind of spooky, but it felt like we'd been there before, kind of. And
yeah,
full
it was
disclosure,
weird. It was a weird feeling.
I don't know if this was for you, but this was like part of the reason I wanted to go to Italy was like a few months ago I was playing Hitman and I just realized how beautiful Sapienza was, and I was like, this is probably a real place. I want to go there.
Right. And when we saw it, like it was a little surprising, right? Because we could see some direct analogs like in the game, like mapped to real life. So it was a treat to basically see what inspired that level. And it wasn't just this town of Vernazza, like it was mostly inspired by Vernazza, but the other 4 towns of Cinque Terre played a role in the creation of that level as well. So upon seeing all 5 of those towns, we really got a sense of how the team at IO Interactive constructed that level.
Yeah, it was really cool to walk around. I mean, basically our first day there, we got there pretty late, like 5-ish, I want to say, in the evening. And our first day, we really were just walking around and like, oh, that's from this part of the level. That's the the church.
Like we saw, we identified the church.
Did you go to Venice and relive the plot of Assassin's Creed 2?
We did not go to Venice. We did, however, go to Rome, so we did relive the plot of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
Okay, so you got Brotherhood, but not any of the locations in 2.
Right.
So what were all the locations in 2 again?
2 was Florence and Venice, is what I remember off my head.
No, yeah, we didn't hit those.
No.
But
then,
Rome
like,
for sure.
Montenegro.
Rome was fun to see, and again, having quote unquote explored it in games like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, it was kind of nice seeing historical landmarks in real life, right? Like obviously video games can't do those justice, but it was a sort of like, okay, now I'm seeing this for real sort of feeling, like when I saw like the Colosseum, for example.
The Colosseum, probably more than anything else in Rome, really took my breath away. And not just because of the stairs.
Right, yeah, but no, it's this like really ancient structure in the middle of the city, and there's a sea of like tens of thousands of people trying to see it. It was pretty remarkable, especially like we got like tours, right, Connor, and like we got to learn about the history of the Colosseum, and crazy facts like it was all covered in marble.
Yeah.
Originally, like back in the day when it was constructed, so it would have been something very like splendorous to look at that we can only sort of imagine nowadays. And I'm curious if I go back and play Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, will I see a marble Colosseum in that game? I don't know.
That was
I don't
after.
remember.
No, because it's too late in the history. That was
oh, okay.
Christianity had taken over
Right.
Rome, I think, by the time Assassin's Creed was happening, which is when they
Yeah.
they had stripped all the marble by then.
Assassin's Creed 2 was during the Renaissance, so yeah.
Yeah. I will say,
yeah,
like,
that's
the
right.
Assassin's Creed games are, like, famous for how real their depictions of a place are. I don't know if that had started yet in Brotherhood, but now they're, like, used in schools. Like, they're
Right,
so
yeah, like, that's-
historically accurate. Well,
Like we
with
can,
their depiction.
there's a lot to criticize about Assassin's Creed, but that's one aspect they've just been improving at over the years.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, it's really hard to represent like an actual fictional place, especially like a place in the past in a video game. And I think the biggest challenge of that is simply just scale, right? Like, if it was actually scaled to, I guess, human proportions, it would be a really boring place to explore because there would just be a lot of empty space.
Right. Nobody wants the 40-minute walk to get anywhere in Rome that it was pleasant and nice in real life, but in a video game, I don't have time for that.
Right. So, like, I do have, like, I guess, an admiration for level designers who are able to take a space like that, condense it, and really, I guess, capture the essence of it in a way they did, like, for example, like, Assassin's Creed in Rome and Vernaza for Hitman.
Yeah. I think it was really... What was that, Mike?
I think, like, especially, I had a personal experience a while ago. While I was in college, I was visiting DC for some reason or another. I don't remember why I was in DC. But I'm walking through that, and I had just played through Fallout 3 recently. Or it was fresh in my mind for some reason, because 4 had came out.
Yeah.
I'm like, hold on a second.
I had a very similar experience a few years ago. I went to Paris, and I was walking around, and I was like, "This is like weirdly familiar. Why is this so familiar?" And it was because of Sin Crossing from Battlefield 4.
Oh wow, what a pull!
Yeah,
I think
or Battlefield
it's
3
wild.
rather, and like, yeah, it was just
And
like,
Battlefield 3 like one of the modern day ones?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Battlefield 3 was the first of its modern day kind of...
Okay.
Oh, no, 2 was the first of its modern day iterations, but 3 was like the near future...
no, Sin Crossing
20
is not
minutes
like
kind of deal.
It's not an exact copy of the neighborhood I was walking around in Paris, but it was close enough that I was like, I've seen this before. Like,
Did you walk into a metro station and suddenly get overwhelming anxiety that a grenade was going to come around the corner?
No.
No, it's not the U.S., so no.
No,
Yeah.
this
Oh,
is,
so
I was
true.
I was making a
Yeah, making a
Metro
Battlefield
reference.
joke,
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I got the reverse in Fallout 76 the one time I played it, where I walked into Morgantown and saw Woodburn Hall. I'm like, I know that place.
That's crazy.
I stood in that exact spot at one point.
Yeah, people in you see, we're talking about this like it's a big deal to us. We're all from West Virginia. But like, people from New York have had this experience like dozens of times.
Every time a
Right.
Spider-Man game comes out, it's like, oh my god, that's the bodega I go to every day.
Well, it's not even just Spider-Man. Like, New York City is one of the most popular, like, real-life settings for video games.
Wasn't
You think
GTA
they're-
4 a pretty accurate depiction of New York?
That was like a fictionalized, but I think it was pretty close.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how much they deviated. But I know I've seen like games journalists and stuff talking about like how real New York can be in video games compared to like the neighborhoods that they actually walk to work from.
Right, because, like, New York does have that density that plays well when adapting a location to a video game.
Right. I don't think they have to make a ton of changes for something like Spider-Man because he can move so quickly, and they usually only do like one borough. So it's the scale's probably pretty close to reality, I imagine. I don't know. I haven't been to New York.
I mean, New York's very big. I've been there at least twice. It's big.
Yeah, big place. A lot of people
You
there.
don't feel like it's big when you're using the subway to go everywhere,
Right.
but walking anywhere, it's big.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like, New York's one of those cities where you can, like, get up in a skyscraper and look around and see nothing but buildings in all directions, stretching out to the horizon almost.
Like something even like a region being depicted in a game, and then you suddenly go out there and it's like, wow, it's exactly like they depicted it. Yeah, even though the game I was playing was Fallout, it's exactly the same in real life, but just with less radioactive monsters.
It's Pittsburgh in The Last of Us, right?
Yeah.
Well, The Last of Us, right?
They
yeah,
visit
The
a
Last
few
of Us
different cities. Yeah.
takes place
Yeah,
over the
there
United
is
States,
a
but yeah,
Pittsburgh
Pittsburgh
level.
was a major location.
You see,
in the
that
game.
that didn't mean anything to me at the time, but I wonder if I would go back and play it now. I wonder what that would feel like.
Right.
now that
I mean,
live here.
but it's kind of hard to tell because the world of The Last of Us is so dilapidated and like
Just
destroyed.
Just
play
like
Fallout
Pittsburgh.
3 again. Yeah,
Just
play
like
Fallout
Pittsburgh,
3
right?
again and play the Pit DLC to get a legitimate view of Pittsburgh, you know?
Yeah,
Real Pittsburgh. You
but
walk outside and there's like men
But-
that have
but
mutated
you know,
into mutants.
It's kind of hard for games like Fallout, right? Because that takes place in a fictionalized world where like the world was basically destroyed. I mean, I guess in a similar vein to The Last of Us, that yeah, you can see kind of landmarks, but other than that, I don't know how well it really captures
Bethesda-
the feeling of being in that place, right?
Bethesda also doesn't do large places, like large cities. They just don't. They
really
the
don't
biggest,
do large cities.
The biggest city in Skyrim is like, a couple blocks. Like they just.
I
don't
will
do it.
say some of DC. I think Fallout 3 had some really nice, because I think the mall is almost 1-to-1 to what it is in real life.
Like the
because
Mall
it's
of
only a
America.
stretch.
Is that in DC?
No, the National Mall.
The
Yeah.
National Mall. That's what. I
Yeah,
was
where the
thinking of.
monument
Yeah.
is, and then at the end of the monument you have the Capitol building,
Right.
Right.
All
and you
those
have all these
historical
museums that line it.
monuments.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's one you should get 1-to-1 because so many people
yeah,
would have
it's
seen it.
so
and-
familiar, and they turned it into a war zone, and they dug
Uh-huh.
trenches through it.
As they do.
As they
There
do.
was also, I believe, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 had a level
Such
in
a good
DC
game.
as well. And that Call of Duty, the one, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. That's the one where like nuclear war starts, right? With Russia. Like, do we get nuked by Russia or something like
that's
that?
the one where Price launches the nuke to stop the Russian invasion by launching like a nuke into space. It's the one with the space level where you get to watch a nuke detonate in the atmosphere.
Okay, yeah.
That's crazy. God, those
It-
games are weird.
No, Modern Warfare 2 was really good because if you listen to background audio, it's just utter panic and actual radio discussion. They put a lot of detail into those levels.
Those Call of Duty games, like, we're talking about the original Modern Warfare 2, right? Like,
Yeah.
Modern Warfare 2, those were pretty
Those were
historically good
the best
first-person
Call of
shooter
Duty
campaigns.
for a
That's
reason.
what I've heard.
I really like
But-
them. I need to go back and play them. Too bad they're still $60 on Steam.
Really?
Hold on, let me.
I'm sure they must go
double-check.
on sale often. There's like no way that they're still full price,
Give
like all the
me-
time. That just can't be true.
Well, they don't. I mean, I could see it being true. They don't want you playing the old ones. They want you playing the new ones.
Modern Warfare. Let me get the actual Modern Warfare 2, not the new Modern Warfare 2. Give me the right one. Modern Warfare Remastered is $20 right now, so that's not bad.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I might
But-
buy it, honestly. I've been feeling the itch. 2009 is 15. Okay, that's not that
Okay,
bad.
that's not. Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Base
Yeah.
price is 20. That's still a lot of money for a game that came out in 2009.
But hey, if you're hankering to visit DC and don't want to actually drive here, play Modern Warfare 2, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one other thing I wanted to bring up, kind of going back to our trip, is that I didn't realize. So, Connor, we saw the Duomo di Milan in Milan, Italy, right? And I didn't realize until we were actually up there that place is absolutely 100% a massive inspiration for an Orlando in Dark Souls.
Did you look that up after to confirm that?
I did, and
Okay.
and it was.
That's crazy.
So-
Yeah, because we were both saying it while we were up there. We were up on the terraces.
It was uncanny almost,
It was.
especially because in Dark Souls you go through Anne Orlando, you travel through the spires of that castle, and it looks exactly like the terraces, the rooftops of the Duomo di Milan. And it was really, I guess, kind of gratifying seeing that, like, yes, it was an inspiration for Anne Orlando in Dark Souls, because I strongly felt that while we were there.
No, yeah, we were both saying it. Like, we were like pointing out, like, oh, that's where the archers were shooting at you, and like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And we were just right about that,
that's
which
crazy. I mean, I
kudos
felt
to,
it, but I just
from
thought
software. Yeah.
I thought that was just a style. I didn't know if it was specifically the Domo di Milan. That's so cool.
Yeah. And and it really did give off of like Dark Souls vibes
No,
to me.
100%.
On the outside, at least. On the inside, it was very, I guess, Christian and majestic. But on the outside, for sure, it reminded me of Dark Souls.
Yeah. No, it didn't. It didn't feel like Anne Orlando inside at all. No.
Yeah. So that's kind of crazy when you think about it, Connor. All three of the major like places we visited are places that we've seen in video games, just kind of unknowingly.
Yeah, we were only doing that on purpose once.
Yeah. So Rome, Vernazza, and Milan were the three places we kind of stayed at. and there's analogs for all three of those, which is a funny coincidence.
And we didn't even know we were going to go to the domo when we went to Milan. Like we
no, yeah,
really
Milan
were
was
flying by
just
the
a
seat
sort
of
of
our
like
pants.
wing it
Yeah.
kind of, and like that turned out to be a great day. Like
Oh,
it was
yeah.
a very packed day. I think that was the day we actually walked the most, Connor.
Yeah, likely. And yeah, the evening was nice too. We visited some smaller, like I guess not that small, but not huge bars and everything.
Right.
Good old time in Milan.
But yeah, so just reflecting on that trip. But I kind of wanted to also highlight other, I guess, popular locations that see adaptations in video games. Tokyo is another big one, right? Like we've kind of been talking about like European, United States centric locations, but Tokyo appears in a lot of, I guess, Japanese video games, like the Yakuza games and Persona 5, which had a pretty, I guess, extensive depiction of Tokyo and like the train network in Tokyo.
I mean, Shibuya. I've heard that it feels uncanny to visit Shibuya after playing Persona 5. Like you just.
Oh yeah, I can confirm that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it was you that said it to me. I couldn't remember if it was you or something I read online, but
yeah. So Tokyo's like, I think the biggest metropolitan area in the world. Like I kind of think that's true. I might have to double check that fact, but
I have a hard time believing that it's not somewhere in China, but I can't fact check it.
I guess we could fact check it. Yeah, Tokyo, Japan is the largest city on Earth.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah. So it makes sense that we'd see a lot of depictions of Tokyo, especially because I guess video games tracing their roots back to Japan in a lot of ways too.
This is kind of embarrassing, but I don't have like any sense of scale for how big Japan is, like the full country. Like people talk about it like it's a small island, but I'm pretty sure it's actually like gigantic.
It's pretty big. Yeah. I mean, it's not like U.S.
It's like the size of California,
big,
though, isn't it?
But yeah, it's like the size of like one of the coasts on the U.S., I believe.
Yeah, so it's not small at all.
No. But also, I guess, speaking of Japan, Tsushima Island for Ghost of Tsushima was, like that island was the setting of Ghost of Tsushima. And that's a sort of unique setting for a video game because this was a historical island, like without many kind of like building landmarks, right? Because they basically just recreated the geography of that island in that game.
I always wonder how they go about that too. I wonder if they do scans as like a starting point, or if they just do it by like basically trace it by hand.
No, I definitely think they send. I mean, that might all be true as well, but like they definitely send like scouts to these locations. I know for a lot of big game productions, that's a pretty common thing where you send people like artists to the actual place to sort of get an idea of like how they want to capture the place, which I gotta imagine is about like that has to be such a cool job, right? Just being sent to all these beautiful locations so you could capture them in your video game.
Yeah, I envy that job a lot. That would be just, I mean, what a dream.
Right. I remember watching like the Raising Kratos documentary for God of War, and I forget where they were, but they legit brought the whole crew on like one of these expeditions, like even the voice actors.
They did
just
that
so they could get a sense of like the place and help that guide their performance.
Sonic Adventure did that as well. They went to some places in Central America and maybe some in Mexico. Not sure, but to study like some of the stuff that they did in the Mystic Ruins and stuff.
Oh, that's interesting.
They did that.
I wouldn't even like even a game like Sonic. That's crazy. A game that's not really like realistic or whatever.
And then Sonic Adventure 2. I don't even think this was like why they were there, but it's kind of a reversal where the development team was living in San Francisco, which is why City Escape is based on San Francisco.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and Radical Highway as well is based on the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm pretty sure.
What did they base the cart level on?
The cart level, I think that's also the Golden Gate Bridge, more or less, like aesthetically speaking. I think all of it is around San Francisco, all the city stuff.
The Golden Gate Bridge, I think, appears a lot in video games. It's a pretty like notable landmark, and San Francisco in general is like a pretty popular setting.
I
Like-
enjoyed it, and I think it was Watch Dogs 2 was in San Francisco.
Yeah, Watch Dogs 2
Dogs 2
was San Francisco.
oh, so
Yeah.
good. Such a good game.
Yeah,
It's a
wild
fun
that they
game.
managed to make a good one and then sandwiched by two extremely mid games.
Extremely mid
Right.
games. They got one good
And
one.
unfortunately, like kind of a tangent, but I did see that apparently Watch Dogs is a dead IP at Ubisoft right now.
That's kind of sad because like
Which
they
sucks
were
because I do
cooking.
think the idea was good, right? Like the concept of Watch Dogs was always intriguing to me. It was just the execution that was
even
leaving
Legion
some to
was,
be
like,
desired.
Legion was fun. It just ran like poop. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I think I had a 3080 at the time, and it was still not hitting 60 FPS. Like, it was unreal how bad that game
Yeah.
performed.
Yeah, definitely unrealized potential for Watch Dogs. I think in the hands of like a more competent team, that idea would have been really, really good.
I mean, just put it in the team from 2. The Watch Dogs 2 was like just a good
Watch
game.
Dogs 2
I have
was good, yeah.
Very few complaints about that game. Like, it was just really fun all the way through. It was easy, but like, not
Yeah,
every game
game-
needs to be
Yeah, game
like a
wasn't hard,
challenge.
but was fun. A lot of fun.
But yeah, I guess speaking on San Francisco a little more, and I guess, I don't know, this is kind of spoilers, but maybe not, but Horizon Forbidden West, right? So Horizon's another one of those games that takes place in the far, far future America. And Forbidden West, like the title suggests, Aloy goes to the west. And one of the biggest landmarks in the game is San Francisco and like the remnants of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, interesting.
Because like Horizon, more so than a lot of the other kind of apocalypse style games, takes place hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years after like the fall of modern civilization. So I guess what I'm saying is the major landmarks are still there, but they're barely recognizable because they're so like ruined and dilapidated.
Right. That was probably
But yeah,
cool,
no,
though.
like the more I think about it, you know, the US, like United States cities are a pretty, I guess, common setting for a lot of video games. Like I also think of Los Angeles, right? I don't know if you guys ever played LA Noire, but that city was, you know, it's in the name, right? LA Noire.
What city is GTA 5?
GTA 5 was a fictional city of
Yeah,
Los Santos, which
But-
was based off of what? Was it?
Was it not?
LA.
Yeah, I thought it
Based
was
off
LA.
of LA.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, because they have the Vinewood sign. It's based off of Los
Right.
Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have like the Beverly Hills area. That's in LA,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Or am I like crazy? Okay.
Yeah, so LA, yeah, I mean GTA 5, like the most popular video game ever, based in
Yeah,
LA
not
as well.
counting every single street racing game that's ever released.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they always will just pull out like, "Hey, this is Midnight Club Los Angeles. It takes place in L.A. Surprise, surprise."
Which so have you guys well we've talked about it on the show before. On this same topic, it was really fascinating to play Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 because
Oh yeah,
it was it was all of planet Earth.
Planet.
Yeah. Like, I flew over my high school and I could, like, see it. Like, the buildings were, like, generic buildings. Like, it didn't look like a school, right? But, like, the two rectangles matched the two buildings that were my school, more or less. And, like, I flew from Charleston to Pittsburgh along 79 and recognized a lot of it. Like, it was just cool. Like, obviously, I hadn't seen it from the air because there is no flight from Pittsburgh to Charleston, but
Yeah, Microsoft Flight Sim is a unique case where they, I guess, just as accurately as possible recreated.
yeah, the planet.
planet.
Yeah, really interesting to fly around in that. I really enjoyed it. I think
At least on a
think-
macro scale, right? Like geographically, cities, like all of that was pretty well represented.
the cities.
Like obviously,
like,
if you get really granular, no, but
well,
yeah.
the major cities were more accurate than the smaller cities. They had accurate geometry for places like New York City. I'm pretty sure.
Right, yeah.
They released those over time, but it was what a game. Very, very cool. I mean, game's kind of a strong word for it. It's a simulator. Like it, you know. I actually don't know.
Yeah,
if
it's a simulator, but you know, it is a game, but it's also a simulator.
I don't know if Microsoft Flight Simulator is used for actual pilot training or if they have something better. I really don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure they have like dedicated software.
Yeah,
For that,
I know
but,
they do.
like, I don't see, like-
hands on the actual system.
I mean, it is very, very realistic.
Yeah,
Like it will at least give you like a layman's understanding of how to land and fly a plane.
Yeah. I have me and Microsoft Flight Simulator go way back. My dad had a copy of like 98 or something that I used to play when I was a kid. I just really like flight simulators. The terrain was not recognizable in that one.
Oh, right, yeah.
It was largely just flat. Yeah,
a few years for graphics to catch up.
Yeah,
but I guess another place I wanted to shout out, Seattle, Washington, which was pretty accurately recreated in Infamous Second Son. Mike, did you play Infamous Second Son?
I played Infamous First Light, if that's anything.
Which takes place in the same city.
Was not as good as Second Son.
But yeah, I very briefly have been to Seattle. Like, you know, I was like getting on a cruise in Seattle, so I didn't really see much of it. But like things like the Space Needle and all like the major kind of like building landmarks are recreated like 1-to-1 in that game, which is pretty cool. And Sucker Punch is actually based in Seattle too, so it was I imagine it was kind of a cool undertaking for that team to basically recreate their home in the game that they were making.
I can say when I went to Boston for PAX, it really wasn't like the last time I saw Boston in a game, because that was Assassin's Creed 3, and there were no cabins.
Right.
There were no British people there. There were also no super mutants, which was strange. I was expecting super mutants.
But yeah, I guess just bringing it back to Assassin's Creed really quick, because I really do think that game series is the one that does it the best.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I almost feel like Assassin's Creed can serve as a primer almost when you're traveling to a place. You know, like obviously you can do your own research, find places to go, but you can see a place like a historical building in Assassin's Creed and have confidence that it is as faithfully recreated as possible, and then go see it in real life and basically like confirm it. Because I know like for Assassin's Creed Unity, for example, which took place in France, they created the Notre Dame like so realistically. They consulted with like all the reconstruction efforts even after like the fire destroyed it in like recent years. So like they really take a concerted effort to preserve like historical sites as much as possible.
Yeah. I mean,
which is, I think, really cool. No other game series really does that.
And they have educational versions of the games, I believe, that you can use in schools where you just walk around the world.
Yeah, newer Assassin's Creed games started doing this, where they have like a tourism mode where you
so it's just available. Okay.
It's just like it's in the game itself, right? But it's like a history lesson, right? There's tons of actual like educational content in these games now. Like not like, because in earlier games, like yeah, you could run around Rome or whatever and see historical sites,
right? But it wasn't.
But
like, you weren't learning.
But like there's like supplemental historical education now in those games too, which is really cool for the people who are interested in that.
I agree. I'm not a huge fan of modern Assassin's Creed, but like the inclusion of stuff like that makes it hard to be a hater. You know, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah. So I guess just thinking back, right? So 3 took place in the US, like Boston, like Mike was saying. 4 was like the Caribbean, like Havana, Cuba, like places like that. Unity was France. Syndicate was London, which actually has seen its fair share of representation in video games as well. Let's see. Yeah. Odyssey was Greece. Origins was Egypt. I'm surely missing a few, but
Valhalla
was Revelations
Valhalla
was Constantinople / Istanbul.
Right. Yeah. The first one? Or which one did you say?
Assassin's Creed Revelations, which was the
Revelations,
the final one in the Ezio trilogy.
Yeah.
One was Jerusalem, Acre, Damascus, and
right.
Like
that's right.
The middle part between those 3 areas of the Middle East. Which those it's hard to be historically accurate, since a lot of the Crusader state buildings, other than maybe Jerusalem, don't exist, or these cities have radically changed since the Crusades.
Right.
And
Right, but even for like cities that do radically change, which is most of them to be fair, right? Like, hundreds of years have passed between those historical events and today. Like the Assassin's Creed team does do like their due diligence. Like they consult historians, they try to recreate it as faithfully as possible. So if you're ever jonesing for travel but can't quite afford a flight across the world, just play Assassin's Creed. Yeah. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
I gotta say though, if you're jonesing for travel, you gotta play Hitman World of Assassination.
That too. That does a really good job. And plus, like Hitman is interesting because it's not historical, right? Like Assassin's Creed will take you to another place in a past time, but Hitman will just be like, okay, we're now in, Madagascar or whatever.
Hitman captures the vibes of a place more so than the literal place itself.
And that's just as important, honestly, when you're looking for an idea of a place, is to capture the vibes.
No other game has ever made me want to go to a real place the way that Hitman did. Vernaza was like the low-hanging fruit of the Hitman places because a lot of places he goes are like not affordable, not accessible to me, But not that a trip to Italy is cheap, but I could do it. And I don't think I could.
But also, speaking on that, Vernaza in particular was the cheapest place we stayed at, Connor, almost to a ludicrous degree for what you're getting.
And it was my favorite. Like, it was the most beautiful. Well, I mean, it didn't have that historical context, which was magical. I wouldn't give that up for sure. But in Rome, but
as a vacation destination, Cinque Terre, Vernaza, I don't see how that could be beat, especially at that price.
Do not miss
that we stayed.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, it's expensive just crazy to get there, but once you're there, everything was very affordable.
Right. Oh man.
That flight's just
so
tricky.
I basically just wanted an excuse to talk about our Italy trip. So.
Oh yeah.
Man, kind of wish I was still in Italy, but what can you do?
Yeah, I've just been sleeping and.
I've been sleeping so much, dude. I've been sleeping an absurd amount since I got back.
Me too. I can't. I'm sleeping like 10 hours a night and then naps as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the jet lag is real.
They don't tell you that travel's exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, we were walking 10 to 15 miles a day, and that first day we landed. I got up at like 8 a.m. here to get to maybe earlier. It might have been 7. To get to my flight.
That first day, I did not sleep.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Because I was up late editing the podcast.
Oh, right. You hadn't slept before.
And then I did not sleep at all on the plane. And then we got to our hotel. It wasn't ready. Long story short, it wasn't ready.
This is at 10 a.m. in Rome time.
And then so we just left and went to the Colosseum and explored that.
And we had like a full day. We were out
sleep.
Until like 5 or 6, I think, that day before we finally like passed out, like back at the room, exhausted.
Yeah. Fun times.
That's kind of how I felt at PAX, honestly.
Yeah.
I went from...
but you weren't jet lagged, man.
Yeah, I wasn't jet lagged. That was the only good part, is that I didn't have to deal with a time zone change.
The time zone change was brutal.
I had to completely flip my sleep schedule on its head because we had to be up at 6 a.m. every day.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'd be at PAX till at least the show floor closed at 6, if not later. So we weren't getting home till like 11, 12 some nights, and then right back to PAX at 6 a.m. the next day.
Yeah,
I think next year I'm gonna do a hotel next to the venue, so I don't have to worry about finding parking.
Yeah, that's the play.
Yeah, Ahmed has.
We'll bring the whole Game Talk crew.
It's worth spending a little extra on a hotel that's where you want to be.
As we learned.
Yeah, our commute in Milan was pretty long. We were a little far from the city center. There was a metro and everything. It wasn't so bad, but
it definitely could have been worse.
Yeah.
But I think we'd be remiss, at least I would be remiss, to, in an episode about video game locations, not talk about Uncharted. Because Uncharted is a series so near and dear to my heart. And I think Uncharted, more than any other game series, like obviously games like Assassin's Creed do locations better, but I think Uncharted sparked that like Wanderlust in me, that sense of like I want to go around, I want to explore these places. Uncharted gave that feeling to me.
Yeah.
And I think Uncharted captures that feeling better than any other game series. But yeah, like in Uncharted, right, like you had like Madagascar on Uncharted 4, right, like when you were in the Jeep.
Right.
And Yemen, the desert in Uncharted 3.
That does not make me want to go there.
Yeah, it was
The
Drake
Rhubarb
was kind of
Collie.
like dying of
Yeah.
after he crashed his plane into the middle of the desert,
Or
the
the
Rubber Collie
Himalayas
Desert.
in 2.
Oh my
Yeah,
god,
Himalayas
yeah.
in 2. Yeah, that
The
was
jungles
magical.
in South
The
America.
Himalayas in 2 were
in 1.
absolutely magical.
Oh yeah.
Are you
Oh,
talking about
man.
Golden
really,
Abyss?
yeah. 2 was really the only one I played a lot of. Or no, I played 3 too. Never mind. I'm lying. I'm a liar. But I played 2, and the Himalayas were always striking. Plus, any of the levels set in like London or at the museum earlier in the game.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
Is it 2 or
Uncharted.
3 that opens with a bar fight?
That's 3.
That's 3.
3?
Yeah.
They blend together real well, and I guess that's a good thing.
I don't know, man. The globe-trotting nature of those games, like, I can't stress enough how much influence that had on me, like, as an adult.
Yeah. That's how I feel about Hitman. Like the globe trotting adventure of it is probably my favorite thing about it.
Right, yeah. Hitman has it too, and don't get me wrong, I think the locations in Hitman are perhaps even better realized than Uncharted. But like Uncharted really, I guess it was just due to the presentation, like the characters, the music, everything like combined really gave that sense of like
It's more of an adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
And yeah, I really do, and it sounds cheesy, but I really do think that game series had a serious impact on my desire to like travel and see the world.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think that's cheesy. I think that's...
Yeah.
You got to take inspiration from somewhere, and this was
Right.
what we grew up with.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I didn't grow up with Hitman. That was more... I was an adult for all of that, but still.
Gosh, yeah. Man, IOI, please. Just make more Hitman levels. Like, I know you're working on Bond, but maybe just make Bond exactly like Hitman,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's just called James Bond. It features James Bond, but in every other way, it's just Hitman again.
Yeah.
I would be fine with that.
Even making like going back to locations, even making it a stylized version of that location still it's good.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, that's
Stardew
impressive.
Valley could be any generic rural town in America
Wow.
or anywhere really. Same
Yeah,
same
because
vibe.
like you have the farm too, but then there's like the village in Stardew Valley as well.
Yeah.
I could see that like giving you a sense of like, hey, I kind of wish I lived in a place like this.
Yeah, Stardew Valley has that small town vibe that you can find pretty much anywhere there's farms
Yeah.
in some degree. But I guess that's not part of the original topic, but we can pivot there. if we
No,
really
yeah,
want to.
I agree. There, you see, on that note,
It's like the concept of a location.
I didn't finish it, but something that made me realize I wanted to move out of Morgantown was Life is Strange: True Colors. Takes place, I think it's in Colorado, which isn't where I moved, but it's a fictional small town that just has this like beautiful little main street that you can walk from one end to the other of, and everybody knew each other, and it was like more neighborly, and it was just like, man, that is not what my life is now. I would love to live in a place more like that. And I don't live in a small town, but I moved somewhere with that. You know, that game was a bit of inspiration for it. It encouraged me to move somewhere where I could walk around.
Or something like Night in the Woods, which is set, I think, like somewhere in like the Coalfield, Pennsylvania region.
Really? I always thought that was in the Midwest somewhere, but that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that a pierogi stand.
Yeah,
that's
gotta be
not
in
Pittsburgh-
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
If it's not Pittsburgh, it has to be nearby.
Yeah.
But I think Possum Springs is meant to be like a Rust Belt hometown, which
Yeah.
there's a coal mine nearby, so I think it's like PA, West Virginia-esque,
Yeah.
northern West Virginia, maybe Ohio.
Interesting. I'm curious where the developers are from now, but I'm not going to look it up right now.
Like it felt like it could just be any town in America, or
Yeah.
at least that region.
Right. Speaking of America, another game I wanted to shout out, Red Dead Redemption. Those games do an astoundingly good job of capturing like America
frontier.
the American frontier in like the cowboy era.
But they're not real places. Like there was no West Elizabeth, but they captured
Right, they changed like
vibe.
town names, right, but they captured the spirit of that
Like,
time and place
you could
so
tell,
incredibly
like,
well.
Lemoyne and 2 is just Louisiana, and then you go into Saint Denis,
New
and
Orleans.
it's just New Orleans or Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
And they did a really good job of not connecting it to any real world locations while still making it feel like, oh, I'm in Louisiana right now. Or I'm
Yeah, I
in
wonder why they
Texas.
did that. Like, I wonder what the rules are, right? Because some game series are just like, yeah, we're in Chicago. Like, Watch Dogs was just like, yeah, we're in Chicago or whatever.
I don't
LA
think there
Noir
are
is in Los
rules.
Angeles.
Yeah, I don't think
And
there's
some
rules.
games are just like, we're in this city, but we're just going to call it something else.
I think it's
the
just a creative choice.
Yeah, it's a creative choice
Okay.
because you could write whatever stories you want and not attach it to any historical context. If you say set it in the frontier of Red Dead 2 versus setting it in like Kansas, you know?
Like I don't know why they do it for Red Dead, but I think Rockstar does it with Grand Theft Auto to kind of get out of any accountability for what they're
Right, because they're poking a lot of fun
Yeah,
in those games.
they-
Like, they're very satirical.
They're satirical of like an era in a given like American city context.
Yeah.
And you can tell clearly where the cities come from. Like
Right.
Vice
They
City's
do a
Miami,
masterful job of just
Liberty
capturing the
City's
vibe
New
of the
York,
cities.
and Los
Yeah.
Santos is LA.
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do a good job of keeping that. And again, they're not an American company. None of the developers are American, really.
And I mean, like, I guess continuing that trend, just looking at the GTA 6 trailer, it was immediately obvious that this was like Florida, Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Like,
it's
just
broad strokes.
one glance at it,
Like-
which I think is really impressive, right? For a company to capture, like, that's how well they capture the spirit of that
Yeah.
place.
It's all about it's all about the spirit of LA, the spirit of New York, and the spirit of Miami and GTA, rather than just being like we're set in Miami.
Right.
Because then you kind of limit yourself to what era of Miami, and you got to be more accurate. Whereas if you just say, "Oh, it's Miami in the '80s," you can just throw whatever you want in there, or whatever stories you want to tell, without having to worry about like intersecting with real things.
Right.
Right.
Which I believe the first Infamous was in like a New York-esque city, right?
I believe
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Infamous 1 and 2 were,
One
I
was
think, in
set
New York
No, 2
analogs.
was like a New Orleans-esque, right?
Wasn't 2 in the same city, though? Maybe I'm wrong. It's
Never
been a while
played
since
either.
I played 1 and 2.
No, he was in New Maria. So yeah, it was
New
like
Marais. Yeah, New Marais.
That was
forgot
like-
about that. Yeah.
supposed to be New Orleans.
Yeah, that was New Orleans. Yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
And then the first one was in Empire City, I think, is what
Which
it
is
was called.
for sure New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And it had its boroughs and everything. Very fun 2 games. It's just sad that this franchise is dead.
Yeah, I immensely enjoyed Infamous 1 and 2.
Infamous one was
I enjoyed,
fantastic.
Second Son less, but it was also a good game.
I
But
didn't play Second Son. I didn't play 2. I played 1. I really wanted to play 2.
2 is the best
Never
one.
got
You
around
should
to, like,
definitely
I
play
need to
2.
play. It's on my
Yeah.
list.
But yeah, Sucker Punch has moved on to Ghost of Tsushima. I don't think they're going to be looking back anytime soon.
I had no idea that was the same company. That's crazy.
Yeah.
They also
Those
did
games are
Sly.
Such a difference, right?
Yeah, no, we're not getting another Sly either, I don't think.
Yeah, Sly Cooper, too.
Sly
Oh my
Cooper's
God.
probably just as dead as Infamous.
Well, who made Sly 4? It wasn't them, was it? I thought it was a different.
There was a Sly 4? Hold on.
Yeah.
There was.
I
Yeah,
forgot.
it was terrible from what I've heard. But yeah.
Probably was bad, but
I love Sly Cooper 2 and 3, dude. Those games are crazy good.
it was made by Sanzaru Games.
Oh, yeah. That sounds right.
Sly Cooper was always one of those franchises where I remember seeing commercials for it as a kid, and I always like, this is the coolest thing ever. But it was just one of those
Oh,
series that I never
Okay, Sly
actually
4
played.
was actually good, apparently.
Really? I've not
Yeah,
heard that.
like even Sucker Punch said like it's fine.
I should probably play it sometime. It was
But it wasn't made by Sucker Punch,
No.
and there is a difference there.
Sucker Punch
Yeah.
did say that like, hey, we're proud of what they did and we're glad we handed over the reins.
interesting.
But the Sanzaru is not working on another one right now, so it's a dead franchise, I think.
Yeah, because that was many years ago that came out. That was a PS4.
Yeah. Infamous or Sly Cooper in 2022, Sucker Punch said, we are not doing anything right now.
Yeah.
It's straight.
Well,
Ghost of
yeah, I mean,
Tsushima.
it makes sense from their perspective because Ghost of Tsushima was like a mega smash hit. Like, it sold way more than any of their previous games. But I hope the success of Ghost of Tsushima allows them to grow as a team and maybe split off and do maybe like 2 or 3 games simultaneously, because they are sitting on some IP I really care about. Like,
They need to do what
like
Insomniac
Infamous.
did, and become a multi-game studio instead of a one-game studio, but that's a hard thing to do in development.
It is very hard. Insomniac is kind of crazy in comparison to a lot of other studios.
Insomniac also has full go-ahead from Sony and enough goodwill that like they could get away with it. They could get away with that expansion.
Yeah, but if Ghost of Tsushima 2 hits in the way 1 did, and it'll probably hit even better because it's a sequel, it could put Sucker Punch in that kind of space where they're one of Sony's like really elite studios. So I think the future for Sucker Punch is looking bright. I just kind of wish they would revisit some of their old stuff because I'm old.
Boomer.
Yeah. I wish we'd get another Jack game from Naughty Dog, but I don't think that's going to happen as long as Neil Druckmann's in control.
No, I don't think that's fair to say. Like, even if Neil Druckmann wasn't in control, Naughty Dog has well moved on from Jack and Daxter.
I just wish they'd either release it to another studio to do something with it.
Well, they did, right? Like, there was a Jack game done by someone else, like The Lost Frontier.
Yeah,
and it was just kind of meh. But don't get me wrong, I'm like right there with you. I love Jack and Daxter, but I think
still going.
Yeah, that is the one that sort of survived, but yeah, I think Jack and Daxter is kind of dead. Although maybe not though, because they are making a Jack and Daxter movie at Sony Pictures, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, I forgot.
So maybe there's some hope there.
Resistance took place in real locations too. Sometimes.
Well,
it did.
But like it was like a kind of destroyed versions of those cities, right?
Some of them. And sometimes it was destroyed. Sometimes it was in the process of destruction. Like Resistance 2, you fight like cloaking chimera in like a redwood forest at some point, and it's frustrating. All those games were hard. Most of the Resistance games I remember being absurdly difficult.
It's another sort of franchise that Sony has moved on from.
Unfortunately. They were fun. They were fun games. Never completed one, but they were fun games, at least until I got to the point where I couldn't progress.
So do we have any other locations we want to shout out in video games? I think we covered like a kind of wide breadth of real life locations, but anything we missed?
Shout out Halo for capturing the vibes of like a futuristic Africa. That's one of those locations.
A futuristic space station.
Are you talking about Halo 2?
Halo 2 and 3 took place on Earth a good bit.
I haven't played 3.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. But yeah, 3 took place... Like 2 had New Mombasa, and then 3 took place outside of New Mombasa, around Voi and everything, which were all set in Africa, which it's fairly rare to see a game set in that region of Africa. It's very rare to see a game set in Africa in general that's not in Egypt.
Right, I was going to say Egypt is like the go-to location for like Africa settings in video games.
Setting it in Central or West or South Africa, that's fairly novel. I think the last game that did that was one of the few games that did that was Far Cry 2, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of games set in Madagascar, right? One of the Far Cries was set at Madagascar, and then Uncharted has like a whole section in Madagascar.
I don't think any of the Far Cries were set in Madagascar.
Really?
Far Cry 2
maybe I'm misremembering.
Was set in like Central Africa in a fictional nation. And then Far Cry 3 was set in like somewhere in the Pacific. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
4 was the Himalayas. 5 was
Far Cry
America.
is Ubisoft as well, right?
Yeah. And
so that's interesting, because Far Cry...
Cuba?
Far Cry is known for like modern day kind of jungle environments, largely, right? And Assassin's Creed is like historical environments. So Ubisoft has a sort of thing for capturing actual places. Didn't really think of it that way before. Yeah, because they are doing with Far Cry as well.
Central African savannah. So it's probably closer to South Africa than like the savannah areas.
Yeah.
Still, like, it's very rare to see a game set anywhere near Middle Africa.
Right, yeah. No, that's a good point, because like the most common settings are like U.S. cities, Japanese locations, like historical or modern, and then European cities with like really memorable, I guess, historical sites.
Yeah. They kind of ignore a good chunk. Like, I'm trying to think. No, the Sleeping Dogs was in Hong Kong. Never mind.
All right. Anything else? Going once, twice? All right. let's talk about what we're playing. I think I'll kick us off. So, I played one game on my trip to Italy, and only one game, and that game is Slay the Spire.
No, not again.
Now,
it's getting a sequel.
yeah, not again, right? It is getting a sequel, which I'm very stoked for.
Recently.
But I did talk about Slay the Spire, I think months, maybe years ago on this podcast.
Think I talked about it at least a little bit.
Yeah, you've talked about it as well.
We both talked about it.
And Slay the Spire, if you're a fan of deck builders or roguelikes, this game needs no introduction. But for those who don't know,
kind of built the genre.
Right, like it is one of the definitive works in that space. Like Slay the Spire is the ultimate deck building roguelike. And the fact that it's getting a sequel is just crazy to me. Because I can only imagine, like, even with the original, like, it did so much right. I can't even fathom how 2 will improve, but that's why I'm not the designer for that game. But, yeah, Slay the Spire, so it is a deck-building roguelike game, and you can pick one of 4 characters. You do have to unlock them, but the 4 characters play completely differently, have completely different mechanics, right? So there's like a warrior style player who focuses on like high HP, tanking, physical blows. There is a thief style character that focuses on like daggers, shivs, and poison. There's a mechanical character that has like this orb mechanic.
He's so
where
fun.
They can like slot elements into their orbs, generate more slots, generate more orbs,
and then you can get infinite block. So fun.
Play attack with that mechanic, and then the final character is like a monk style character where they have a stance mechanic. They switch between different stances like calm and rage and divinity. And like I said, these 4 characters play completely differently, right? Their decks, their cards are completely different. There's no overlap between them, with the exception of like colorless cards, which can be used for any character, but like 90+% of the cards for each character are different. So
and every run's
a lot of variety, and that variety is exactly why this game just doesn't seem to ever get old. Like, I legitimately feel like I could play Slay the Spire forever.
Thousands of hours, at least.
And not get tired of it.
But
yeah.
You can get a build with the defect, who's the robot. If you get the relic that keeps your block through encounters, you can stack some pretty insane block numbers, and some of his orbs do damage based on how much block you have. So you could just stack block until eventually you one-shot things.
Yeah, and kind of going off that point, like I said, there's 4 characters, a lot of variety, but even within the characters themselves, like each one has like dozens of viable builds, you know, like each time I play this game, I find a new way to play it, which that depth is just something that I find so staggering about this game. And like a lot of roguelikes have that depth, right? Where like it's just like it feels like there's endless possibilities, you could play it forever, but none quite reach the like limitless sort of potential I feel like Slay the Spire has. And another thing I want to say about this game is that it is very difficult. Like I strongly feel like, and maybe it's just a me thing, maybe I'm just bad at the game, but actually finishing a run of Slay the Spire, like finishing as in doing the secret boss and everything, is a very, very difficult thing to do. I think I've only accomplished it maybe once or twice in my dozens of hours with the game. So
because if you get the wrong boss, it's over. Because some bosses just counter a given strategy.
Your runs through the game, like as you progress through the game, right? There are 3 acts and then like 2 boss fights to conclude, and there's a boss at the end of each act too. But as you make your way through each of the acts, right? There's like branching paths that you can go on, and some are just like basic things like enemy encounters. You beat the enemies, you get some rewards like gold and a new card for your deck. Some are question marks, which are like random events, and they could be either positive or negative. Some are treasure chests, which give you a relic, which relics are powerful items that you carry with you that drastically shape the way you play your character. Some are shops, right? So that shops are where you can like spend your gold to buy either relics or potions or new cards. And some are like mini bosses, which drop a relic when defeated. But mini bosses obviously pose a much higher risk to you than regular enemies. So sometimes you have to play that game of, not sometimes, often you have to play that game of risk and reward where you're like, do I really want to risk potentially ending my run here in exchange for getting something that could really improve my odds later on down the line? And that calculation is something you have to make all the time. And it's something that I'm still not, like, I haven't perfected. Like, oftentimes I underestimate, like, a mini-boss, and then it just ends my run, and I'm like, well, I wish I had gone the other way. But conversely, sometimes I do take that path. I defeat the mini-boss, drop something crucial for my run, and I'm like, able to get much farther because of it. But, yeah, Slay the Spire, it is it is like a monument to roguelikes in general. Like, I think it is a standard to which all deck builders and all roguelikes will always be compared to. And because of that immense legacy, like, I can't even imagine the pressure that must be going into a Slay the Spire 2. And I don't know. Like, I just physically cannot see how it could be a better game, but I guess they could add more classes, more decks, what have you. But when that game comes out, that's going to be a shockwave in the roguelike genre. But yeah, I think the biggest thing I can say about Slay the Spire is that I just don't get tired of it, which is just crazy because that's not a thing that really happens with many video games. Yeah, go play Slay the Spire. Well, what have you been playing, Connor?
I have two. I'll start with a short one. I've still just been playing Monster Hunter World. I actually I could have sworn that I had beaten this game in the past, but I got a new achievement when I beat the final boss and rolled credits, which I actually did on a train in Italy, which was kind of cool. Really good train or plane game. I hesitate to say it's a good travel game because a hunt can be 30 minutes to 40 minutes or something in Monster Hunter World, which is great if you're on an 8-hour flight and want the time to pass quickly, and not so great if you're like on a 40-minute train ride and you don't want to have to like stop in the middle of a hunt or something, which was the position I was in a few times on this trip. But just love that game. Not tired of it. Even just today, I was still playing it some, doing some grinding against one of the Elder Dragons with... I ended up just... I guess there was one other guy who really needed the same Elder Dragon I did. We got matched with each other like 3 times in a row. Like enough that I was like happy to see him, like he was a familiar face. And that's always funny. And he was really good at the game too, which was a godsend because I failed this mission 3 times in a row yesterday just to succeed in it like 5 times in a row today, because this guy was much better at the game than the people I was getting matched with yesterday. I don't know. I could just play. I don't know. It's such a grindy game. I could play it forever. I think I'm at the end of the original Monster Hunter World content now, but I'm kind of hesitant to start Iceborne because I'm still like getting in-game stuff, and I want to know what it would have been like to finish Monster Hunter World before Iceborne came out, before I jump straight into Iceborne. I'm somebody who likes to know what the original package was like for a game. I don't like to jump straight in with all the DLC and everything. I like there to be a firm split there. So I'll probably give it another day or two of just enjoying the end game before I hop into Iceborne, which is the real end game, and that's going to be like a whole second game, I think.
Yeah, it's like pretty substantial, right? And I hear Iceborne has some of the best content in the game.
It doubles the monster count, which for sure is going to come with tons of new armor sets, tons of new weapons. I think 2 new areas. But a lot of the new monster fights take place in the original areas, which is fine, because I honestly am not really looking forward. It's called Iceborne. I don't care for ice levels, so I'm really not looking forward to that terribly. But I I think the rest of it, it's going to be a huge addition, and it has. I don't know. That just is the end game. It was the end game came later. I think Monster Hunter is one of those games that you can play for a very long time, and you hit walls progressively where it's like, okay, this mechanic has been in the game the whole time, but I'm hitting a wall. I need to engage with a new mechanic to get past it, and you can kind of choose one. You can like, oh, I can start using traps. I haven't used traps yet. Oh, I can start using bomb barrels. I haven't used those yet. Oh, I haven't really been paying attention to the skills that my armor has on it. Maybe I need to look at those. And oh, I don't really do a ton with consumables other than health potions. Maybe some consumables will make me stronger. I'm starting to hit those walls that I wasn't really hitting before. I was able to just overcome stuff with skill. And now I'm actually having to learn some of the mechanics that I just kind of skipped over because I didn't need them before. And I think that's really fun. That's something I really like about Monster Hunter, is that like that complexity is there the entire time, and you just kind of choose when to engage with it. Like when the game starts getting hard enough that you need those things, that's when you dive into them. Like there's a whole food system in World that I haven't really engaged with on any level. Like I just choose, it's called the Chef's Platter, and it gives you a pretty big health and stamina bonus, and I think like an attack bonus. But you can actually go in and like select individual ingredients to get like specific elemental bonuses or specific skill bonuses. And I just haven't had to do that yet. It's just a lot of complexity that I didn't feel like engaging with, but I imagine I'm going to have to soon. There's also like elemental defenses on your armor. I've just kind of been choosing armor that I think looks cool so far. But once you get towards the end game, sometimes you need to build an armor set specifically for a certain hunt, because it is going to be so difficult if you don't have the right resistances to get into that, or even a weapon specifically for that hunt, because you need to be doing elemental damage against an enemy. And that's the meat of the game for me, when you actually have to do all the prep work to enjoy a fight. I'm into it.
Very cool. Looking forward to hearing about Iceborne whenever you get there.
Yeah, I'll probably be talking about that next week. Well, I'll go ahead and move on. This shouldn't be too long either, but I played a cute little game called Lil Gator Game. It's on Game Pass. It's like this very simple and very wholesome 3D platformer that's kind of taking a lot of inspiration from Zelda, but it's about this little kid who he used to play with his sister a lot, and she went off to college, and she's back, and she's working on homework, and he's trying to get her to play with him, and the whole game is kind of about him trying to learn to understand his sister and mature a little bit, and it does that through the mechanics of a 3D platformer. It's really cute. If you have Game Pass, I highly recommend you check it out. Not a ton to say about it. It's a pretty simple game, but I like it a lot. It was pretty short, only a few hours long. Good way to spend an afternoon.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. You can follow us at Podcast Game Talk on Twitter and Instagram. Follow us at Game Talk on TikTok. We are growing. We're over 260 followers on Instagram, so thank you all so much, each and every one of you. You can click the link in the description of our podcast to join our Discord and talk to us there, which, by the way, please do that. Now that I know there's over 250 of you, like, we don't
it's
bite.
Awful quiet in there.
We don't bite, so please feel free to join us and talk to us about video games.
I feel like I send most of the messages in the Discord are us.
We've got a few people in there, but
yeah.
All I'll say is we do have a few people in there, but judging by our numbers, we should have a lot more people in there.
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you all. What haven't I said yet? I've said most of it, right?
Yeah, see y'all next week.
Yeah, see you next week. Bye.